Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
On the Good Advice Giver podcast. Podcast title: Why Tubi Movies is Taking Over. The Rise of Free Streaming. Podcast host: Good Advice Giver podcast. Participants: Male 1, Greg. Female 1, Sarah. Female 2, Jessica. Male 2, Marcus.
Greg, welcome to the Good Advice Giver podcast. I'm Greg, and today we're discussing something exciting that's been shaking up the streaming world, Tubi Movies. Yes, that's right. Tubi is out here making waves and taking over the streaming industry by storm. And the best part? It's free. When we think about streaming platforms, big names like Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, and Amazon Prime come to mind. But here's the thing. Tubi is sneaking in under the radar and is quickly becoming the go-to for a lot of people, including myself. And I get it. Because who doesn't love free stuff, right? But more than just being free, Tubi offers something that's becoming harder and harder to find in the streaming world: variety. Let's break it down a little. Most of the big platforms like Netflix and Hulu have shifted their focus towards original content. Now, don't get me wrong. Netflix's original content is great. I've been hooked on many of their series. But at the same time, it feels like their libraries have been shrinking in terms of classic films, indie gems, and those random flicks you used to stumble upon back in the blockbuster days. That's where Tubi shines. Tubi's appeal isn't just that it's free. It's that it offers an extensive library of content that spans decades, genres, and tastes. There's something about scrolling through Tubi's catalog that brings back that feeling of browsing through old DVD racks at a video store. You get the sense that there's always something new or old to discover. You can find 90s action films, obscure horror movies, family-friendly comedies, and even foreign films that you might not find on other platforms. And here's something really interesting about Tubi. Because they focus more on licensing rather than original programming, they can offer a broader selection. That's a huge selling point. Netflix, for example, has been losing a lot of third-party content. I remember when Friends left Netflix, people lost their minds. Tubi, on the other hand, fills that gap with tons of TV shows and films that you don't find as often anymore. Another key point about Tubi's success is that they've smartly kept ad-supported. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ads? Who wants to sit through ads in 2024? But hear me out. We've come full circle. People used to hate cable because of ads. But now we're paying for multiple streaming services and still not having access to as much content. With Tubi, you're getting movies and TV shows for free, and in exchange, you just have to deal with a few ad breaks. For me and a lot of people, that trade-off is worth it, especially when you compare the price tag of Netflix or Hulu subscriptions. And speaking of ads, the way Tubi handles ads is pretty smart. They're not overbearing, and they pop up at just the right moments, usually at scene breaks, so it doesn't feel like they're cutting into the experience too much. It reminds me of watching TV back in the day when you get a quick break, but then you're right back into the action. Another point worth mentioning is that Tubi has tapped into a niche market that's often overlooked by the other big platforms. Think about it. There's a growing appetite for niche genres like retro films, cult classics, and indie productions, and Tubi offers that in spades. Netflix and Hulu are more focused on the next blockbuster hit or the next big original series. But Tubi provides content that appeals to more specific tastes. And let's not forget that Tubi is great for international audiences. It has a decent selection of foreign films and TV shows that make it stand out. Other platforms do have international content, but sometimes it's buried deep and you have to know what you're looking for. Tubi makes it easy to explore and try new things. So, in conclusion, why is Tubi taking over? It's simple. It's free. It offers variety, and it's bringing back that joy of discovery in streaming. There's a reason why more people are turning to Tubi as their go-to streaming service. It's a breath of fresh air in an industry that's becoming more and more focused on exclusive content and high subscription fees. That's all from me, Greg. Don't forget to download today's episode of the Good Advice Giver podcast for more insights like this.
Sarah. Hey there, and welcome back to the Good Advice Giver podcast. I'm Sarah, and I want to jump right into this fascinating discussion on why Tubi Movies is taking over the streaming game. So let me start by saying this. Free streaming is a concept that sounds almost too good to be true in today's market. After all, we've become so accustomed to shelling out money for every single service. Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, HBO Max, it's like everyone has their hand out asking for another subscription fee. Tubi comes in and says, hey, don't worry about that. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy. And we love them for it. Now, while Greg touched on some really important points, especially about Tubi's extensive library, I want to dive deeper into the psychology of what's making Tubi such a big hit. One of the things I've noticed is that, as consumers, we're starting to experience a bit of what I like to call subscription fatigue. There are only so many streaming services we can afford to subscribe to before it starts feeling like we're back to paying cable bills. You know the feeling, you're already paying for Netflix, but then you need Hulu for one show, HBO Max for another, and before you know it, you've got 5 or 6 different subscriptions all eating into your monthly budget. That's where Tubi shines. It offers a solution to that fatigue by being completely free, and in today's economy, that's a huge selling point. It's not just about money, though. It's also about accessibility. Tubi is available on so many devices, smart TVs, mobile apps, gaming consoles, you name it. It's easy to access, and it's not behind any paywall. Whether you're watching from your couch or catching up on a movie during your commute, Tubi has made streaming incredibly user-friendly. But let's talk about the variety of content because that's where Tubi grabs people's attention. As Greg said, they're not necessarily pushing out blockbuster originals every month. Instead, they focus on creating a curated experience for viewers, offering a range of movies and shows that appeal to different tastes. You can find everything from big-name Hollywood hits to lesser-known gems, which is why Tubi has this air of nostalgia. Feels like you're back in the video rental era where browsing was half the fun. One thing I find fascinating is how Tubi appeals to different age groups. Younger audiences might be drawn in by its extensive library of cult classics and retro TV shows, while older generations appreciate being able to access shows and movies they haven't seen in years. Tubi taps into this wide-ranging demographic, which is something you don't see as much with other platforms that are so focused on the younger crowd. And let's not forget the international appeal. I love the fact that Tubi offers a diverse range of foreign films. Netflix and Hulu might have some foreign titles, but they're often hard to find and they don't get promoted as much. On Tubi, it's much easier to discover international content, and that makes it feel like a platform for people who truly love film regardless of the language. Another thing I want to mention is how Tubi fills a very specific gap when it comes to genre diversity. They've got sections dedicated to everything from action and drama to horror, sci-fi, and even niche genres like anime or indie films. They've even got a whole section for documentaries, which is something I love. Feels like they're trying to cater to every possible interest, and that's something that's getting lost with some of the other platforms. The ad-supported model is something that makes Tubi accessible to everyone. Ads have always been a point of contention for some viewers, but think about it. We were all used to watching shows with ads for years before streaming became popular. It's only recently that we've started to associate ads with a negative experience. I think we're seeing a shift where people are willing to sit through ads again if it means they're getting quality content without having to pay for a subscription. So to sum it all up, I think Tubi's rise comes down to 3 things: accessibility, variety, and value. It's free, it's available on nearly every device, and it offers a range of content that appeals to different types of viewers. It's no surprise that people are flocking to Tubi. It's filling a void in the streaming industry that's been growing for a while now. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to download today's episode of the Good Advice Giver podcast for more discussions like this one. Jessica, female 2. Welcome to the Good Advice Giver podcast, everyone. I'm Jessica, and today we're talking about the streaming sensation that is Tubi Movies and why it's capturing so much of the market right now. Okay, so Greg and Sarah both hit on some great points, and I want to add to that by diving into the cultural shift that we're seeing with streaming in general, and how Tubi is positioned perfectly in this landscape. First off, let's look at the big picture. Content is king. In the early days of streaming, the goal was to have the most content. Netflix was the pioneer in this area, and they built their empire by offering everything from licensed TV shows and movies to their original content. But as the streaming wars heated up, platforms like Disney Plus and HBO Max started pulling their content back. That left a void for a service like Tubi, which could come in and scoop up all the content that was getting overlooked. The beauty of Tubi is that it's not competing in the same lane as Netflix or Disney Plus. They're not trying to churn out the next big original series. Instead, they're focusing on providing a massive library of films and shows that appeal to a wider audience. And let's be honest, a lot of us love the comfort of rewatching older movies and TV shows that we grew up with. Tubi gives us that. Plus, they sprinkle in some new content to keep things fresh. I think another reason why Tubi is taking over is that people are tired of being locked into subscriptions. As Sarah mentioned, subscription fatigue is real. We're at a point where we're not just subscribing to one or two services, we're subscribing to several. I've seen people cancel Netflix or Hulu simply because they don't feel like they're getting enough value for their money. Tubi, being free, doesn't require that commitment, which is hugely appealing. You don't feel like you have to justify keeping it around every month. One of the things that I've noticed is that Tubi is embracing niche communities in a way that other platforms aren't. They've got an entire section dedicated to Black cinema, for example, and that's something that resonates with me. Netflix has some representation, sure, but it often feels like they only push that content when it's trendy or during Black History Month. Tubi, on the other hand, makes it an integral part of their platform. They have classic films, newer productions, and documentaries all dedicated to Black culture, and it's available year-round. That's something I appreciate. And it's not just Black cinema. Tubi has sections for LGBTQ+ content, foreign films, and even faith-based films, which is something you don't often see highlighted on other platforms. They're giving these communities a home, and that's a powerful strategy. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone like Netflix, they're creating a place where people with specific interests can go and feel like there's content catered just for them. But let's also talk about the user experience. Tubi's interface is clean, and it's easy to navigate. I can't tell you how frustrating it can be to scroll endlessly through Netflix trying to find something to watch. Tubi keeps things simple, and I think that's part of their appeal. They're not bombarding you with recommendations or forcing you to watch the latest trendy show. Instead, they let you discover content at your own pace. Now, a lot of people might be wondering how Tubi makes money if it's free. The answer is simple: ads. We've been conditioned to hate ads over the years because platforms like Netflix trained us to expect an uninterrupted experience. But here's the thing. People don't mind ads if the trade-off is getting access to free content. It's like going back to the way TV used to be. Ads now and then, but it doesn't disrupt the flow of the show or movie. Plus, as Greg mentioned, Tubi's ad placement is done thoughtfully, so it doesn't feel intrusive. I think what Tubi is doing is setting a new standard for the streaming industry. They're showing that there's still a demand for free, ad-supported content. Not everyone wants to pay $15 or more a month for a service, and not everyone needs the latest original series to stay entertained. Some of us just want to watch a good movie from the 90s or catch up on a show we missed, and Tubi makes that possible. In terms of future growth, I see Tubi becoming even bigger as more people become aware of the service. It's already gaining traction because people are sharing their experiences and recommending it to others. Word of mouth is huge for a service like this, especially since there's no financial barrier to entry. People are more likely to give it a shot when they know it won't cost them anything. So that's my take on Tubi's rise to success. Make sure you download today's episode of the Good Advice Giver podcast to stay updated on more insightful topics like this.
Marcus, male 2. Welcome back to the Good Advice Giver podcast, everyone. I'm Marcus, and today we're continuing our deep dive into why Tubi Movies is taking over the streaming world. I have to say, I've been a Tubi fan for a while now, and one of the things that first drew me in was the sheer accessibility of the platform. As Jessica and Sarah both pointed out, Tubi's appeal goes beyond just being free. It's about the freedom it offers viewers. You're not tied to a subscription. There's no contract, no commitment. You just dive in, pick something to watch, and enjoy. But let's talk about the variety, because that's where Tubi excels. What I love about Tubi is that it caters to the everyday viewer. It's not just for cinephiles or people looking for the next big blockbuster. It's for everyone, whether you're into indie films, classic movies, or even cult favorites. Tubi has something for you. When I first started using Tubi, I was honestly surprised by how much content was available. It felt like walking into a massive video store. And as Greg said earlier, that's part of the charm. I grew up in the era of video rentals, and Tubi brings back that sense of discovery. You can scroll through and find something that catches your eye. Maybe a film you haven't seen in years, or a hidden gem you never knew existed. One of the things that I find interesting about Tubi is how it's disrupting the traditional streaming model. We've been conditioned to think that the best content has to be behind a paywall. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. They've all trained us to believe that you have to subscribe to get quality programming. Tubi flips that script by offering a huge library of content for free. And it's not just low-budget or obscure stuff either. They've got mainstream movies, TV shows, documentaries, you name it. But beyond just the content, I think what's making Tubi so popular is the fact that it's accessible to everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a student on a budget, a family trying to cut down on entertainment costs, or someone who just doesn't want to pay for another streaming service. Tubi offers something that fits into everyone's life without requiring a financial investment. Now, let's get into the ad-supported model, because I think this is where Tubi is ahead of the curve. Streaming services are starting to realize that people are willing to sit through ads if it means they don't have to pay. Hulu already offers a cheaper, ad-supported version of their service, and Netflix is starting to explore that as well. Tubi, however, has been doing this from the beginning. And as Sarah mentioned earlier, the ads on Tubi are well-placed and not overly intrusive. It reminds me of watching network TV back in the day. You get a few ads here and there, but it doesn't take away from the overall experience. What's also worth mentioning is how Tubi is capitalizing on the global market. Unlike some of its competitors that focus heavily on producing original content for a specific audience, Tubi has embraced an international catalog. You've got foreign films, international TV shows, and documentaries from all over the world. That makes it a unique platform for people who want to explore content from other cultures, something you don't always get with services like Netflix. I also think Tubi's rise speaks to a larger cultural shift. We're seeing a move away from the traditional, subscription-based model that dominated the last decade. People are becoming more selective about where they spend their money, and they're gravitating toward platforms that offer value without a price tag. Tubi is leading that charge by showing that you don't have to compromise on quality just because something is free. Another thing I love about Tubi is its focus on community-driven content. They've got dedicated sections for various interest groups, whether it's Black cinema, LGBTQ+ films, or even documentaries on niche topics. Tubi is building communities around these categories, and that's something other platforms should take note of. When you feel like a service is curating content specifically for your interests, it creates a deeper connection, and that connection leads to loyalty. As we move into 2024, I think we're going to see more and more people turn to services like Tubi. The streaming wars have made it clear that there's room for both paid and free services, and Tubi is proving that free can still mean high-quality entertainment. So, why is Tubi taking over? Because it offers variety, accessibility, and it's free. It's the perfect alternative to the overcrowded, subscription-based market we're used to. And as people continue to cut back on monthly expenses, I think we'll see Tubi become an even bigger player in the streaming world. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to download today's episode of the Good Advice Giver podcast and join us next time for more insightful discussions.
Podcast conclusion. This concludes today's episode of the Good Advice Giver podcast, where we discussed why Tubi Movies is taking over the streaming landscape. Be sure to download the episode and stay tuned for more valuable insights on the hottest topics out there. Today is your lucky day. Today is the day that our $3 website works for you, paying you directly to your PayPal daily. Imagine $3 ongoing continuous payments to your PayPal account. Imagine falling asleep and waking up to $300 in your PayPal account. How would this make you feel? How could this help you? What bills could you pay? What kind of fun could you have? What does that retirement look like now? All for a one-time payment of $3. This website is DFY done for you, fully built and completely hosted, and never stops collecting payments for you. You have spent $3 on coffee on a regular, but that coffee won't help you create multiple streams of income. Click the link below.